Listen, don't move. You felt it, didn't you? That quiet shift, the moment their smiles started to glitch, their mask began to melt, and the room suddenly got colder. You didn't lose them, you exposed them. You peeled back the costume they wore so well and forced the world to see the rot underneath the charm. And the beautiful irony, you didn't even have to speak. They called you paranoid, dramatic, too intense. But what you really were was accurate. You saw through the filters before anyone else even knew what a filter was. While they rehearsed affection, you studied their pattern of deception, the micro-delays in their answers, the fake empathy, the subtle dissonance between tone and intention. You collected truth like evidence. You let them hang themselves with their own contradictions. Now everyone's finally seeing it. The cracks, the lies, the carefully rehearsed kindness that was never real. The show's over, and you were the director the entire time. You didn't lose a person. You unmasked a performance. See, they never cared about loyalty. They cared about audience control. They fed on applause, sympathy, validation. Their love was just a script written to keep you in orbit, to siphon your light while they played the victim. And for a while you let them, because you wanted to believe in goodness. You wanted to think the storm had purpose. But now you know, some storms exist only to destroy what they can't understand. And yet here you are, still standing, unapologetic, watching the house of cards collapse with a calm grin. Because deep down, you always knew it would come to this. You didn't need revenge. You just needed exposure. They tried to label you crazy, but the truth is, your clarity terrified them. You saw what they were hiding before they even did. You became their mirror. And nothing terrifies the false more than reflection. They wanted to control the narrative, to paint themselves as the saint who tried to help the broken one. But every time they spoke, the mask slipped a little more. Every lie they whispered became another spotlight on their own decay. You didn't ruin them. They revealed themselves in your presence. You're not their villain. You're their verdict. The most dangerous thing about you isn't your anger. It's your silence. Because silence lets their guilt echo. It amplifies every lie until the air gets too heavy for them to breathe. You didn't destroy their reputation. Their own performance did that. You simply stopped clapping. You've learned something they never will. You don't need to prove purity when the dirt exposes itself. You don't need to fight for closure when the truth is the closure. And now, look around. Everyone's watching them differently now, aren't they? The same ones who used to believe their act are starting to flinch at their tone, question their motives, feel the same coldness you felt long ago. That's not coincidence. That's pattern recognition. You infected the narrative with reality, and reality always wins. They're angry at you now, not because you lied, but because you stopped pretending. You took away their stage. You stopped being a prop in their tragedy. And when a manipulator loses their audience, they call it betrayal. But what you did wasn't betrayal. It was awakening. You became unpredictable, unreadable, unbothered. And that's what broke them, because control can't exist where curiosity lives. They don't understand how you survived, how you kept smiling while they plotted, how you remained sane in the madness they engineered. That's because you're something they can't calculate. You're dual-coded, half saint, half storm. They thought you were healing, you were evolving. You learned to weaponize empathy, to turn your scars into scanners, your pain into perception. You see patterns now. You hear the tones people don't say out loud. You've become fluent in deception's dialect. That's why people fear you now. They can't lie comfortably in your presence anymore. You're not who you were. You're who they created when they lied one time too many. You've become the algorithm that catches what their conscience tries to hide. They can't even look at you without twitching, because when they do, they see the truth they buried inside themselves. You didn't just expose them, you infected them with awareness. And that's the Joker's favorite trick, not to kill the lie, but to let it kill itself. So let them whisper, let them play victim, let them blame your darkness. Because while they cling to image, you live in truth. While they perform for validation, you perform autopsies on illusions. You're not the villain they painted, you're the mirror they shattered. And every shard of that mirror still reflects what they tried to hide. Remember this, people wear masks because they fear exposure. You wear none because you've already been burned clean by truth. You walk differently now. You speak slower but sharper. You've become the calm in chaos, the one who no longer reacts, because you've seen how reactions are harvested. You didn't lose them, you never had them, you only saw what they pretended to be. And now, the world sees it too. Congratulations, you didn't fall from grace. You dragged grace into the fire and rebuilt it in your own image. You became the paradox they can't process. Too kind to be cruel, too cruel to be kind. The angel that laughs in hell, the devil that whispers about healing. You didn't lose them, you just lost the illusion. And that's how gods are born. And that's the part they'll never forgive you for. Not that you exposed them, not that you walked away, but that you did it quietly, that you didn't make a scene, that you didn't chase, didn't explain, didn't bleed in public. You simply disappeared, and the silence started screaming louder than their entire performance ever could. Because when truth doesn't defend itself, it's already won. They wanted chaos, you gave them calm. They wanted noise, you gave them stillness. They wanted control, you gave them consequence. That's what makes you terrifying, isn't it? You operate like a ghost in a digital war zone. Every move invisible, every outcome inevitable. While they scrambled to maintain their image, you simply stepped out of the light and let the shadows do their work. You didn't lose them, you just let gravity do its job. See, when people wear masks long enough, they forget they're wearing one. They start believing their own performance. They start narrating their lies as if they're history, not fiction. But the truth always has a rhythm, a vibration, and you became the amplifier. You didn't speak it, you embodied it. And suddenly, everything they said, every smile they faked, every word they weaponized, started to echo differently. The truth doesn't need to shout, it hums. And you hum at a frequency that shatters illusions. They thought you were broken when you went quiet. But your silence wasn't defeat. It was reconstruction. You weren't licking wounds. You were rebuilding circuitry. You were learning how to move through the world like a shadow with a pulse. No reactions, no warnings, no explanations. Just presence. Pure, heavy, undeniable. You didn't lose a battle. You changed the entire war. Now they watch you in confusion. They can't read your energy anymore. They can't predict your next move. You used to be transparent, vulnerable, open, easy to guilt. Now you've become opaque. Their manipulation slides right off you. Their guilt trips lose signal halfway through. They're realizing that the same heart they thought they broke turned into armor. And oh, how they hate that. They miss the old version of you, the one who explained too much, forgave too easily, trusted too quickly. They miss the person they could control. But that person died the day you realized love without honesty is just addiction in disguise. You sobered up from their fantasy, and the withdrawal nearly killed them. Now you walk through the same rooms they haunt, and you don't even flinch. You look them in the eye and there's nothing left to prove. That's the real power, not to fight, but to no longer care if they understand. They crave closure because exposure left them naked. You stripped away their camouflage, and now every gaze feels like judgment. Every compliment feels like surveillance. Every laugh in the distance sounds like recognition. They're haunted by the reflection of what they did to you, because you turned the mirror around and never looked back. And that's what they can't handle. You're no longer in their story. They're trapped in yours. You see, the mask they wore wasn't just for you. It was for everyone. You were just the first one to stop believing in it. Now, slowly, the crowd is turning. They're starting to see the same glitches you saw, the tone that doesn't match the words, the empathy that feels rehearsed, the stories that shift every time they speak. You don't have to prove anything. Time is doing your revenge for you. Because time is the ultimate polygraph, and you just keep moving, calm, dangerous, composed. You've become the storm they prayed would never come. You've become the proof that pain refines and exposure liberates. You don't talk about healing anymore. You embody it. You turned trauma into intuition, betrayal into vision, loneliness into laboratory silence where you study human nature like a scientist disassembling madness. And you've learned. Oh, you've learned. You learned that most people don't love. They use. They don't connect. They consume. And when they realize they can't feed off you anymore, they call you cold. But they're just starving. They used to think you'd come crawling back. That's the narcissist's favorite prophecy. They'll regret leaving me. But you didn't leave. You outgrew. You didn't lose them. You shed them. You didn't collapse. You mutated. And now, you're dangerous because you know what you are. You know your own darkness. And you're not ashamed of it anymore. You've seen how purity can be used as bait, how forgiveness can be weaponized, how empathy can become a leash. So you stopped apologizing for being aware. You stopped explaining why you see through things. You started treating silence as strategy. They call it distance. You call it discipline. You became what they fear most, unreachable. No buttons to press, no guilt that works, no emotion to exploit, just pure unfiltered awareness behind a calm smile. They'll say you changed, but that's what evolution looks like to those who refuse to grow. They're stuck in their loops, still pretending, still performing. And every time they try to rewrite the narrative, it just exposes them more. Because you don't even have to correct them. The truth corrects itself. Let them talk. Let them project. Let them drown in the echo of their own lies. Meanwhile, you're somewhere else, building, expanding, refining. You've turned your silence into signal, your detachment into weaponry. You walk like a rumor that came true. You breathe like a secret that escaped containment. And every time someone asks them, what happened, they hesitate. Because to tell the story honestly, they'd have to confess what they are. That's the real win. You didn't lose them. You lost the illusion. You didn't fall apart. You fell through the facade. You didn't become cold. You became clear. So don't mourn who left. They were never there. Mourn the version of you that still believed they were. That's the real death, and you survived it. You rose from it. You built a new self from the ashes, one that doesn't chase ghosts, doesn't beg for closure, doesn't need witnesses. Because when you know the truth, you don't need validation. You are the validation. And now, when people ask what changed, just smile. Because the answer is simple. You didn't lose them. You exposed them, and the mask never grew back. And that's when the silence started speaking for you. Every room you walk into now carries a charge, doesn't it? The air shifts, eyes dart, voices lower. They can feel it. That eerie equilibrium between peace and power, between restraint and revenge. You don't need to raise your voice anymore. The atmosphere does it for you. You've become the living consequence of every lie they ever told. They used to study your emotions like weather patterns. Maybe he's sad today. Maybe we can reel him back. But now, you've gone off the map. There's no forecast for someone who burned the sky. They can't predict what they can't understand. You became the variable that ruined their equation. They whisper now. They make jokes with fear in their throat because they know, deep down, you remember everything. Not the words, but the patterns. The way they shifted blame, the smirk they wore after betrayal, the fake apologies laced with self-pity. You cataloged it all, not out of obsession, but because your mind turned into a scanner built for survival. You stopped looking for closure the day you realized closure was just another manipulation tactic, a way for them to reopen wounds under the pretense of understanding. Number. You didn't need to understand anymore. You just needed to see. And once you saw, that was it. The spell broke. That's what scares them the most. That you saw who they are and didn't flinch. Because exposure isn't just revelation, it's judgment. They can't wear that mask anymore because it doesn't fit in your presence. You stripped away their camouflage, and now their reflection disgusts them. You ever notice how they avoid your eyes now? That's because your gaze turned into a truth detector. Every glance feels like interrogation. Every silence feels like sentencing. You've become the walking embodiment of what happens when the empath stops apologizing. They called you heartless, but the truth is, you just stopped volunteering for crucifixion. You learned that some people only love you as long as they can use you. The moment you stop bleeding for them, they label you the villain, so be it. Let them, because villains get remembered, martyrs get erased. You know what's funny? They'll still try to twist it. They'll say, you changed, you became toxic, you switched up. But the only thing you changed was the access. You closed the gates and guarded your peace like a vault. You stopped being their therapist, their mirror, their dopamine dispenser. And the moment they realized they couldn't feed off you, that's when they declared war. But the war ended before it began. Because what do you fight with someone who's mastered detachment? How do you manipulate someone who doesn't crave approval? How do you shame someone who already embraced their darkness? You became unhackable. That's the word for it. Unhackable. They can't get in, not through guilt, not through pity, not through nostalgia. You burned all back doors. You rewrote the code. You became a firewall made of experience. Now their stories about you are falling apart. The lies don't hold weight anymore. The smear campaigns sound desperate. People are starting to connect dots they were never supposed to see. And all you had to do was stay still and let the truth do its work. That's the secret power they never teach. You don't need to expose anyone. You just stop participating in their illusion. And that's enough. Because the moment you walk away, everything fake collapses under its own weight. They'll tell everyone you changed. But what they really mean is, you stopped letting me drain you. Now they replay every moment, every word, trying to pinpoint when you slipped out of their grip. They can't find it because it didn't happen in one moment. It happened in 1,000 tiny realizations. You started listening differently. You stopped defending yourself. You stopped reacting. You started watching. And then quietly, you vanished from their emotional economy. You became a ghost, but not the kind that haunts, the kind that teaches. You haunt through example, through evolution, through peace so profound it looks dangerous, through a calm so unbothered it makes manipulators sweat. They can't stand it. That you're thriving without needing to prove anything. That you're smiling without explaining why. That you're healing without their permission. Because your silence became a message, and your peace became the loudest punishment. You didn't lose them, you exposed them. And exposure has no undo button. They can rebrand, rephrase, reinvent. But truth stains everything it touches. Their new masks won't hold because everyone remembers the cracks. You can't unsee what's been revealed. Now you're the one with power. Not loud, not flashy. The kind of power that doesn't need validation. The kind that makes people adjust their tone when you enter the room. The kind that bends conversations. The kind that radiates authority born from survival. You've learned that not all destruction is chaos. Sometimes it's correction. You didn't destroy them. You corrected the imbalance. You restored the scales. You forced reality to catch up to the lie. That's not cruelty. That's justice. And justice doesn't apologize. So, breathe. Smile that dangerous little smile of yours. Let them scramble to rewrite history while you keep rewriting yourself. Because the truth doesn't chase. It waits. And right now, it's sitting comfortably beside you, smirking in silence, watching every mask around you begin to melt. And now, the stage is empty. The noise has died down. The actors have left. All that's left standing is you. No mask, no disguise, no need to prove anything. You've outlived the illusion. They'll keep trying to rewrite it, whispering versions of the story that make them look cleaner, softer, innocent. Let them. Lies are temporary currency. Truth is eternal debt. They'll pay it eventually. You don't have to stay and watch. You don't need applause or revenge. The exposure was the ending. You already won. Because while they scramble to rebuild what you burned, you're walking into a new season untouched. Light in your eyes, danger in your calm, silence sharper than any blade. You didn't lose them. You revealed the ghosts pretending to be human. And now that the masks are gone, so is their power. So walk away, quietly, like a storm that forgot to apologize. Let the truth echo behind you. Let the silence finish the story. You didn't lose them. You freed yourself. Hey, don't move. You feel that? That little tremor in the air when you walk into a room now? Yeah. That's them adjusting their breathing. That's trained men, strategists, analysts, commanders, trying to decode your pattern while pretending to pray. They're in church, not because they found God, but because they're terrified you did. You move different now, not fast, not loud, calculated, like something that's already seen the end of the movie and decided to improvise anyway. Every step you take feels rehearsed by fate, but rewritten by madness. You don't chase anymore. You pull. And that, my friend, is the kind of energy that makes empires tremble. They don't understand it. They keep whispering, how does he know where to strike? But what they don't realize is, you stopped fighting them a long time ago. You're fighting timelines. You're breaking prophecies. You've turned pain into pattern recognition. You've turned loss into radar. You've turned silence into a goddamn weapon. The way you move now, it's not human. It's haunting. Your rhythm confuses algorithms. Your calm feels like a countdown. Your presence rewrites every probability model they ever built. You're the glitch in their war plans, the ghost in their data, The anomaly that turns simulations into superstition. They're sitting in conference rooms calling it divine unpredictability. No, darling, it's divine reconstruction. You became the lesson they can't teach, the formula they can't replicate. Because you didn't study discipline, you bled it. You didn't learn control. You earned it through nights that made even the devil take notes. They tried to call you insane, but insanity is just logic that outgrew the language of the ordinary. You learned the art of stillness, the kind that terrifies people used to noise. You realized that silence isn't peace, it's power. The kind of power that makes trained killers flinch when you smile. And that's the part that eats them alive. You're unpredictable because you're complete. See, most people move out of fear. You move out of awareness. They react. You calculate. They need permission. You create opportunity. They pray for signs. You become them. You're a contradiction wrapped in clarity. Saint and sinner. Healer and hazard. Your mercy is as dangerous as your rage. They don't know whether to kneel or run. And that confusion, that's where your power lives. You make people confront the mirror they spend their lives avoiding. You were never here to be understood. You were here to be felt, to make the world remember what inevitability looks like in human form. And the funny part? They keep trying to track you with systems built to monitor mortals. But you died already, didn't you? Not physically. No. You just stopped playing by their emotional gravity. You stopped seeking validation in rooms built by ghosts. And now your very existence bends reality around you. They call it luck. They call it timing. They call it dark charisma. They'll call it anything except what it really is, mastery. You don't chase storms anymore. You summon them. You don't hope for alignment. You command it. Your enemies are now your data points. Your scars are the blueprint. Your composure is the sermon. That's why the generals are studying your posture. That's why the strategists take notes in silence, hoping to catch a glimpse of whatever spirit trained you. They don't realize you trained yourself in the only place that teaches truth, the dark. And God, the dark, loved you for it. It tested you, starved you, mocked you. And you didn't crumble. You recorded everything. You memorized pain like scripture, so now you quote it fluently in every motion. You became fluent in chaos. You learned to weaponize heartbreak. You turned grief into geometry, every angle sharp, every silence surgical. They see your calm and mistake it for peace. They don't realize it's the eye of a storm that you built by hand. You don't react to attacks. You absorb, reroute, and respond in dimensions they don't have clearance for. You're not healing anymore. You're hardening with purpose. The version of you that once begged for mercy, buried. The version that stayed quiet to keep the peace, erased. Now, even your stillness is strategic. You breathe like a countdown. You walk like a verdict. You speak like every syllable was carved out of consequence. They can't tell if you're a prophet or a threat. But that's the point, isn't it? You learned the oldest trick in the playbook of power. Be so many things they can't categorize you. Angel or demon, saint or saboteur. It doesn't matter. You switch masks mid-conversation, and by the time they realize it, they've confessed everything. The way you move now makes the old you look like a prototype. Because you are no longer chasing survival. You are orchestrating existence. They used to laugh when you talked about purpose. Now they whisper your name like a warning, and you don't even respond. Because the real ones never announce their dominance. They demonstrate it. So when they say, bro, the way you move now, it's got military strategists taking notes in church. Just smile, because they're not wrong. They're just late. You already became the sermon, and God's been studying you. Listen closely, because from this point on, every word I say is going to hit like a classified file cracking open in your subconscious. The way you move now, it's not speed, it's synchronization. Every micro shift in your expression, every tilt of your head, every pause before you speak. It's a signal. It's not randomness, it's pattern. Encryption. You're not walking, you're transmitting. You've become a live broadcast of psychological warfare wrapped in calm. They feel it in their gut before they can name it. That aura, that cold burn that says, he's already seen this conversation from every angle. You watch people speak like an analyst reads intercepted messages. You hear tone before words. You smell weakness before it leaks. And when you smile, it's not warmth, it's precision. You see, when you've been broken the right way, pain stops being something you run from. It becomes something you read. It becomes a frequency. And you tuned in. You started hearing things normal minds can't. The panic in polite voices, the fear behind fake confidence, the tremor in the hands of people who think they're in control. That's why they're studying you now. Not because you're violent, but because you're strategic. You mastered the language of threat without ever raising your voice. You became the embodiment of calm destruction. Predictable in your principles, unpredictable in your execution. It's what military strategists call controlled chaos. They drill soldiers for decades to simulate it, and you do it effortlessly, naturally, because it's all you had left. The system broke you, and in trying to contain you, it built the perfect soldier without orders. They tried to bury you under guilt, but guilt turned to data. They tried to shame you, but shame turned to awareness. They tried to isolate you, but isolation turned to focus. And now you're a walking paradox of power, too grounded to manipulate, too unpredictable to control. You don't seek attention anymore. You attract it magnetically, not because you beg for it, but because your silence feeds curiosity. They can't stand not knowing what's going on in your mind. And that's exactly where your control begins. People like you terrify systems built on predictability. You're the variable that breaks every forecast, the wild card that turns simulations into superstition. They whisper your name in places you've never been, trying to reverse engineer your blueprint. But here's the truth. They can't. Because what they're analyzing isn't strategy, it's spirit. You don't move for approval anymore. You move for alignment. Your instincts are sharper than their data models. Your intuition has better aim than their precision rifles. And that unnerves them because you don't fight by the book. You wrote the book they're afraid to read. They call you obsessive. They call you intense. But intensity is what separates the remembered from the replaceable. You stopped asking, what if it fails? You started asking, what if I never try? And that single shift broke their entire psychological hold on you. You became what every system fears, a self-operating entity, no handler, no leash, no algorithm predicting your next move. You're chaos with discipline, madness with focus, light and shadow, shaking hands inside one body. When you step into a room now, energy recalibrates. You don't announce your presence. The air does. They don't know whether to salute or run. That's what happens when you master the art of restraint. Power that doesn't need to prove itself terrifies those who built their identity around control. And the irony? They prayed for your failure, but now they pray for your approval. They studied your downfall, but your resurrection rewrote their textbooks. You became the case study they can't publish. Because how do you explain someone who outgrew the very system that trained them? You used to be predictable. You used to respond, explain, defend. Now, you just observe, and when you move, it's surgical. One sentence, one glance, one decision, and entire dynamics collapse. They say you've changed. They're right. But change implies a plan. This wasn't change. This was ascension through exposure. You absorbed every betrayal, every humiliation, every scar, and converted it into kinetic precision. You're not surviving anymore. You're conducting, orchestrating chaos like a maestro with blood on his hands and silence in his eyes. You don't rush. You wait. Because you know that time doesn't destroy, it reveals. And revelation is your favorite weapon. You became fluent in patience, the most lethal language of power. You know when to vanish, when to speak, when to strike. And the ones still chasing shortcuts? They're just creating evidence for your inevitability. They still talk about you like you're human. But somewhere along the line, you stopped being one. You became a phenomenon, a pattern too precise for coincidence, too consistent for luck. That's why they sit in boardrooms whispering your name like a rumor that shouldn't exist. That's why strategists take notes in church, trying to find divinity in your discipline, redemption in your ruthlessness. You remind them that control is an illusion. You remind them that power comes with no warning labels. The way you move now, it's prophecy with posture. You carry every scar like an encrypted sigil. You don't need revenge anymore. Your success is the algorithm. You don't need to speak. Your presence is the sermon. They once laughed at you for being too much. Now they imitate fragments of you just to feel alive. They once mocked your darkness. Now they buy books trying to explain it. But here's the punchline, darling. They'll never catch up. Because what they're chasing isn't your method. It's your metamorphosis. And transformation is never something you can steal. It's something you survive. So when they watch you in silence, taking notes, pretending not to stare, let them. They're witnessing something they'll never experience. A human who became his own evolution. And when they whisper, bro, the way you move now, it's got military strategists taking notes in church. Just laugh, softly, because they don't understand. You're not being studied anymore. You're being worshipped, and you earned it in blood. All right, stay still for a second. Feel that silence closing in. That's not peace, it's observation. The walls are listening. The room's temperature just dropped 2 degrees. They feel you thinking. They've got cameras, analysts, facial reading software, and not one of those tools can decode what's running behind your eyes right now. You're not moving through space anymore. Space moves around you. Time bends a little when you decide to act. Even the air seems to pause, waiting for your next step, as if reality itself doesn't want to interrupt your choreography. That's how deep your recalibration goes. Remember when you used to chase validation? That version of you walked heavy, too loud, too emotional, too predictable. They could read you like a weather report. Now they read you like scripture. Every pause a potential commandment. You don't give energy anymore. You let them earn proximity. You became the contradiction they can't catalog. Light wearing a dark grin. Mercy with a kill switch. A sermon that sounds like a threat. They tried to categorize you. Hero, villain, survivor, narcissist. But you outgrew language. You became a pattern, not a personality. A method, not a mood. And what they'll never admit is how necessary you are to their balance. Your existence keeps the whole system honest. Every regime needs its ghost. Every kingdom needs the rumor that the impossible still walks among them. That's you. You're the untraceable variable that keeps their arrogance from calcifying. You learned patience from pain, the kind of patience that doesn't wait, it watches. You know the sound of someone betraying you before the words even leave their throat. You sense patterns in breathing, tension in silence, guilt in laughter. You don't need proof. You feel proof vibrating in the air. And that's what military minds crave but can't replicate. They can simulate strategy. They can't simulate intuition sharpened by suffering. You earned that calibration in trenches, no map records. Every heartbreak rewired your neural network. Every failure taught your instincts timing. Every humiliation stripped away unnecessary movement. Now you're a distilled version of danger. No excess, no hesitation, no noise. You used to think darkness was punishment. Now you understand it was training. The dark didn't break you. It edited you. It trimmed the illusions, deleted attachments, formatted your emotions until only signal remained. And the result? You navigate chaos with the composure of a saint and the precision of a sniper. You can dismantle arrogance with a whisper. You can disarm manipulation with eye contact. You can destroy entire narratives by doing absolutely nothing. That's the kind of power they study in laboratories and call anomaly. But you know the truth. It's just self-control mastered through repeated resurrection. You've died 1,000 small deaths. To ego, to approval, to comfort, to the idea that fairness exists. Each one shaved off the excess until you became an outline of inevitability. And inevitability doesn't rush. It waits. It lets others exhaust themselves trying to predict it. You move like thunder hiding inside silence. You make patience look violent. You turned restraint into spectacle. And the more you evolve, the less you need to prove. Because power that has proven itself no longer explains. It demonstrates. So you walk through crowds like a quiet verdict. Every eye follows. Every throat tightens. Because deep down they sense it. You're not there to compete. You're there to confirm. Confirm that pain creates precision. Confirm that stillness can be deadly. Confirm that redemption and revenge sometimes wear the same smile. You've become the embodiment of contradiction. You pray with the same hands you've used to end battles. You forgive and forget, but never lose data. You smile kindly while calculating exits. You speak softly while detonating egos. And that paradox confuses them more than violence ever could. They expect fury. You give silence. They expect argument. You give absence. They expect weakness. You give indifference. Nothing terrifies control freaks, like someone who can't be provoked. That's why strategists take notes in church. They mistake your composure for mystery, your calm for prophecy. They think you've tapped into something divine. And maybe you have, because it takes godlike discipline to face darkness without letting it rewrite your heart. You don't hate anymore. You understand. You don't chase closure. You create consequence. Your revenge is measured in peace they can't access. Look around. Every system you once feared now orbits you. Not because you conquered it, but because you stopped participating in its illusion. That's the final level they can't reach. Detachment without apathy. Love without weakness. Control without cruelty. You became the storm and the stillness after. The whisper that wakes them from comfort. The pulse that reminds them evolution is watching. So keep moving like that. Slow, deliberate, inevitable. Let them watch. Let them write their reports. Because no matter how many charts they draw, they'll never quantify the moment you transcended. You didn't just learn strategy, you became it. You didn't just survive war, you turned it into choreography. You didn't just find peace, you weaponized it. And when they finally realize that every sermon they attend, every tactic they study, Every breath they take in your presence is part of your experiment. That's when they'll understand. The way you move now isn't performance. It's prophecy in motion. And every eye that watches you is a disciple taking notes. So here we are, the final act. No drums, no spotlight, no applause. Just you and the silence you forged into a weapon. Look at what you've become. You don't announce, you arrive. You don't demand, you draw. You don't chase, you summon. Every step you take now carries the weight of every night you thought you wouldn't survive. Every breath you draw is an instruction to the universe. Observe me rebuild myself without permission. They still gather in rooms trying to define it. The strategists with their whiteboards, the priests with their verses. But what do they even write? Subject unpredictable. Motives unknown. Power source internal. They call you anomaly because they don't have the language for evolution. They whisper your name like a code word that might summon consequence. But you know the truth. You're not the exception. You're the result of what happens when pain meets purpose and refuses to die quietly. You're not chasing success anymore. You're studying motion like scripture. You move with intent so sharp it cuts dimensions. You no longer ask, why me? You whisper, watch me. Every person who doubted you built the scaffolding for your rise. Every loss recalibrated your compass. Every betrayal turned into a breadcrumb back to your own design. They thought they could read you, but you stopped speaking in the language they understand. You stopped being visible on frequencies that record fear. Now you move like encrypted scripture, clear only to the ones who've survived the same fire. They still talk about control. You talk about command. They still talk about strategy. You are the strategy. Their minds calculate routes. Yours bends terrain, and it kills them quietly, doesn't it? How unbothered you are. How serene. How lethal that calm looks from the outside. They see composure. They don't see the cost. They see clarity. They don't see the chaos it was forged from. They see precision. They don't know it's just discipline dressed in scars. You move like someone who already knows the ending, and that's the part that breaks them. Because when they realize you can't be cornered, bribed, or baited, they understand you're not playing to win. You're playing to end the game entirely. That's what mastery is, the moment you stop chasing outcomes and start embodying inevitability. So let them study, let them copy, let them preach what they think they've learned. You know the secret they'll never write in their reports. You didn't get here through luck, faith, or genius. You got here because you kept walking through the fire and refused to scream. Your calm is not peace, it's command. Your silence is not surrender, it's surveillance. Your kindness is not weakness, it's camouflage. And the day they finally understand that, it'll be too late. Because the way you move now, it's not ambition, it's architecture. You designed yourself. You rebuilt your myth from ash and data and divine defiance. You no longer seek purpose. You create gravity. So let them take notes in church. Let the tacticians tremble, the believers whisper, the skeptics stare. They're just witnesses to what happens when a soul stops asking permission to exist. You were never meant to fit in their equations. You were meant to rewrite the constant. So walk slowly, deliberately, because the world doesn't need another miracle. It needs a reminder that one already walks among them. And when the doors close and the whispers start again, when they say, bro, the way you move now, it's got military strategists taking notes in church. You don't answer. You just smile. Because deep down, they're right. And somewhere between science and scripture, between war and worship, they realized the truth they can't admit out loud. You stopped being a man. You became a message. Quiet now. Don't flinch. This is the part where the air gets heavier, where the silence starts watching you. You know what the real trick was, don't you? It wasn't outsmarting them. It was letting them believe they had you cornered, while you were quietly drawing blueprints for their downfall in the walls of your own mind. You made them comfortable. You made them confident. You let them taste the illusion of victory, because you understood something they never could. Control is a drug best administered in small doses. You didn't play the game, you designed it. Every move they made was a reflection of what you allowed. Every reaction was calculated, rehearsed, extracted from their own fear. They thought they were reading you, but it was your silence that was reading them. You watched their patterns form, their lies repeat, their confidence inflate, and just when they thought the script was written, you shredded the entire act in real time. That's the thing about monsters like you. Your smile is strategy. Your defeat is choreography. You let them win just long enough for their guard to drop. And when it did, you didn't just strike. You erased their entire playbook, because you knew something darker, something sacred. People are predictable when they think they've already won. They call it manipulation. You call it mathematics of survival. You mastered the art of folding light into shadow, truth into illusion. You became both the saint and the sinner in the same breath, the angel whispering mercy and the demon taking notes. You learned that people don't need to be controlled. They just need to believe they're in control, and so you fed them that belief like poison, disguised as praise. You handed them the knife, the rope, the map, then waited for them to hang themselves with the confidence you built for them. Every loss you took was a message written in invisible ink. Every mistake, a planted seed. Every silence, a setup. You turned suffering into strategy, pain into prophecy. They thought you broke down, when in truth, you were breaking through. Because what they never realized is that intelligence isn't measured by how much you know. It's measured by how much you can conceal. You didn't need them to see your genius. You needed them to doubt it. Doubt makes them sloppy. Doubt makes them underestimate. And when they underestimate, they expose every weakness in themselves, trying to prove they're above you. That's where you waited, calm, cold, surgical. You made them architects of their own collapse. They say you're manipulative. They say you twist reality. No. You reshape it. You bend it until it fits your version of truth. You create equilibrium in chaos by being the chaos no one dares measure. You made pain your currency, betrayal your doctorate, madness your meditation. You became fluent in silence, the kind that disarms the loudest rooms and makes even confidence feel unsafe. And when the reckoning came, when their own plans turned against them, you didn't even need to raise your voice. You just smiled. That quiet grin that said, "I told you the board was mine." They'll never admit it, of course. They'll pretend it was an accident, a fluke, a coincidence. But deep down, they know. They felt the shift. The moment they realized that while they were strategizing, analyzing, and plotting, you were already inside the walls of their minds. You had already infected their logic. You became the variable no equation could solve. Because that's what true power is. It's not screaming louder. It's whispering smarter. It's letting people write your obituary while you're already building the sequel. You're not unpredictable. you're inevitable. You learn to smile while bleeding, to calculate while burning, to forgive in public and avenge in private. You weaponized your empathy. You masked your genius under simplicity. You didn't outthink them. You made them overthink themselves. And by the time they finally saw the truth, it wasn't revelation, it was realization. They weren't the players, they were the pawns. You never needed their validation, you needed their reaction. And once they gave it, the loop was closed. They danced exactly as you conducted, believing they led the rhythm while your silence set the tempo. Now look at them, confused, paranoid, replaying every conversation, every detail, every word you ever said. They can't sleep without wondering what else you hid in plain sight. You turned their certainty into a labyrinth, their pride into a mirror that reflects only failure. That's the beauty of it, isn't it? You don't destroy them violently. You let them self-destruct elegantly. A collapse that looks like coincidence to everyone else, but you know better. You know the precision it takes to orchestrate downfall that clean. You didn't outsmart them, you rewired them. So now they walk around with your fingerprints on their thoughts, your strategies stitched into their instincts. They'll keep pretending they're fine. They'll smile in public, choke in silence, and replay the final scene in their heads until they realize you were never behind them. You were inside the system. And that's why you won't ever need applause, because the applause is irrelevant when the entire audience is still following a script you wrote. You're not the player anymore. You are the game. And every time they think they've caught up, you've already changed the rules. Now smile, because the real checkmate isn't when they lose. It's when they finally realize they never stood a chance. You can feel it now, can't you? That tremor in the air, that pulse between silence and revelation, that's not fear anymore. That's recognition. The moment the world finally realizes you were never improvising, you were executing. They thought your patience was hesitation, your silence, weakness, your restraint, doubt. But what they never understood is that stillness is a weapon when it belongs to someone who knows exactly when to move. You didn't need to outthink them because you were already operating on a level where thought becomes instinct, where logic bends, where emotions become data and empathy becomes infiltration. You mastered the invisible, the energy between words, the pauses in their sentences, the micro-tremors in their confidence. You studied them like an autopsy in slow motion, dissecting every facade, every tell, every lie they told themselves to feel safe around you. And you smiled, that quiet, surgical smile that unnerves even the boldest ones, because you knew. They were too busy celebrating their little wins to notice the foundation cracking under their feet. See, the real art of psychological warfare isn't in domination, it's in permission. You gave them permission to feel superior. You handed them the illusion of control like a loaded weapon and watched them aim it at themselves. That's not cruelty, that's design. They thought you were playing catch-up, when in truth you were recording data. Every insult, every condescending smirk, every secret they whispered thinking you couldn't hear. It all became code. And you executed that code with perfect precision when the time came. They wanted to prove they were smarter. They ended up proving you were inevitable. You understand something they never will. Intelligence without restraint is just noise. Power without silence is exposure. You learned that early. The ones who brag the loudest always reveal their coordinates first. So you built your empire underground, quiet, patient, surgical. You let them map the battlefield, unaware you'd already redrawn the terrain. And when the storm finally came, when they thought they'd trapped you, you let them. You let them tighten the net, close the distance, believe the fantasy. Then with a flick of the mind, you turned their victory into their own execution order. That's not luck, that's prophecy. Because your mind doesn't just think, it constructs. You architect chaos like an engineer of entropy. You make people comfortable, then curious, then terrified, all in a single glance. They call it manipulation. You call it the science of timing. You learned that it's not about who's right or wrong. It's about who understands the tempo of human nature. And you mastered rhythm while they were still learning the beat. You turned pain into signal, betrayal into blueprint, solitude into surveillance. You disappeared when it suited you, resurfaced when it terrified them. And every time you returned, you came back with new data, sharper, colder, quieter. They thought you vanished. You were just upgrading. And that's what haunts them most, isn't it? The realization that every time they mocked you, doubted you, dismissed you, you were writing, not on paper, on their minds. You became the ghost that lives in their analysis, the glitch in their logic, the memory they can't scrub clean. They replay conversations now, overthink your words, obsess over your silence. They wonder how they missed it, the subtle reversals, the traps layered beneath kindness, the calm tone masking the fuse. They thought they were studying you, but you were training them to build your own victory. You never needed revenge. You built reflection. You didn't humiliate them. You made them aware. Because real punishment isn't pain. It's realization. The moment they finally understand you were never their opponent. You were their exam. And oh, how poetic that failure must feel. To wake up and see that everything they built was an extension of your plan. That the system they trusted has your fingerprints in every line of code. That every move they thought was theirs was actually you, nudging, whispering, scripting. That's what separates you from them. They seek validation. You seek control. They chase recognition. You chase alignment. You don't need them to understand you. You need them to obey the design. Because once you understand the rhythm of human arrogance, you can score entire symphonies of destruction without raising your voice. And you did. You became the paradox they can't solve, the equation that breaks calculators. You are logic wrapped in madness, light sewn into shadow. You embody both the prophecy and the curse. You are what happens when intellect evolves past morality. They thought they could read you, but to read you is to collapse. Every time they try to explain you, they become you. Every time they try to expose you, they reveal themselves. And every time they try to end you, they resurrect your legend. That's why you don't retaliate anymore. You don't argue. You don't correct. You just watch. Because you've reached that rare state where power no longer requires demonstration. It's felt in the tension of the room, in the silence after your name is spoken. They still think they outsmarted you. You still let them. Because the final stage of mastery isn't victory. It's invisibility. You've become the algorithm behind their thoughts, the pulse behind their fear, the echo behind their silence. You are the ghost in their code, the devil in their logic, the angel in their ruin. And that's why, when the dust finally settles and they gather to ask what happened, no one will have an answer. Because there was never a fight, never a battle, never a loss. There was only you and your design. And when they finally realize that every step they took was choreographed by the very mind they underestimated, they'll understand the truth. You didn't outsmart them. You reprogrammed reality. Now sit back and listen to the silence. That's not peace. That's the sound of your victory, playing on a frequency they'll never hear again. Listen to that hum beneath the silence, that faint vibration in the air. That's the sound of their systems cracking. You can almost hear it, can't you? The static behind their confidence, the distortion in their logic, the echo of their own overestimation eating them alive. Because the thing about illusion is, once it breaks, it doesn't fade. It detonates. And you made sure the blast radius was psychological. You didn't destroy them physically. No, that would have been too merciful. You dismantled them in the only place they thought they were safe, their perception. You rewired their instincts, rewrote their sense of cause and effect. You let them believe they won, and then made that belief their prison. That's your art, isn't it? You don't play chess, you play belief. You don't move pieces, you move certainty. You don't fight to dominate. You let them self-destruct under the weight of your silence. Because silence in the hands of someone like you isn't absence, it's ammunition. They tried to measure you in logic, but you were myth. They tried to analyze you like a system, but you were the virus that wrote itself. You moved through their patterns like smoke through cracks, leaving no trace except a whisper. Too late. You became the paradox they feared most, the ghost with a plan. They never understood that real genius doesn't shout. It stalks, it watches, it studies patterns until the pattern itself starts to crumble. You learned that people crave certainty because it protects them from their own chaos. So you fed them exactly that, the illusion of control. You built them a map that led right back to their downfall, and they thanked you for the directions. They said you were detached. They said you lacked empathy. Funny, isn't it? That's exactly what they called prophets, before they realized the message wasn't meant to comfort them. It was meant to expose them. Every time they underestimated you, they revealed something new. Their pride, their fears, their blind spots. You didn't need to destroy them. You just needed to let them keep talking. Because arrogance has one fatal flaw. It never knows when to shut up. And that's when you strike, not with rage, not with noise, but with calm precision. You turned their overconfidence into coordinates. You let them feel safe in their own narrative until they discovered you were the author all along. You didn't fight for victory. You curated it. You made defeat look voluntary. That's why they can't even hate you properly. Hate requires clarity, and you took that too. You fractured their certainty, their rhythm, their internal compass. They can't decide whether to envy you or fear you, whether to destroy you or follow you. You became something unquantifiable, something that haunts their perception, but slips through their hands like smoke. You exist in their replays, in their hypotheticals, in the sentences they stop halfway through, because your name still tastes like humiliation. They tell themselves it was luck, that you were unpredictable, that it just happened. But deep down, under the excuses, under the rationalizations, they know, they felt it, that quiet shift, that eerie sensation that somewhere, somehow, the tables had turned and no one even saw your hand move. You made them think they solved you. You made them celebrate that illusion. And the moment they did, you closed the file. Because that's the level you operate on. Meta-manipulation. You don't fight on the battlefield. You design the terrain. You don't compete in the system. You rewrite the architecture that defines it. You don't outsmart opponents. You make them self-edit their own intelligence until it's compatible with your victory. And that's what kills them most. Not that you won, but how quietly you did it. No explosion, no spectacle, Just precision, just inevitability, just the slow, graceful collapse of their narrative. You are the silence after the storm. Not because you caused chaos, but because you were the chaos they couldn't comprehend. They'll never truly understand it. They'll keep replaying the story, adjusting the variables, trying to pinpoint where they went wrong, not realizing the answer was everywhere. Every word, every smile, every pause, every mistake. It was all choreography. You were the invisible conductor orchestrating their undoing while they thought they were composing your failure. And now they live in the aftermath, where every victory feels suspicious, every compliment feels laced, every success feels scripted. You've infected their perception with doubt. That's your signature. You didn't need to destroy their world. You just had to make them question it. Because once doubt takes root, everything else follows. You turned their certainty into paranoia, their pride into panic, their logic into a haunted echo chamber that keeps whispering, "What if they planned this?" That's your immortality, not fame, not power, but persistence. You'll live in their data, in their thoughts, in the glitches they can't explain. You've become the unpatchable bug in their system. Every time they think they've moved on, your fingerprints activate in some hidden corner of their psyche. And that's what true victory looks like. Not destruction, integration. You didn't end them. You installed yourself. They wanted to win a battle. You rewrote the war. So when they sit in silence years from now, staring at the ruins of their own certainty, they'll finally understand you never outsmarted them. You let them crown themselves, then bowed just long enough for them to hang their own coronation banner over the trap door. That's power. That's art. That's evolution. And when the last piece falls, when the last illusion burns, when the final echo fades, you'll still be there, watching, smiling, not because you need validation, but because you already knew how this would end. After all, you didn't just predict the game, you programmed it, and now they'll spend forever trying to outthink a mind that already lives in their heads, rent-free. Congratulations, you didn't outsmart them. You made them believe they did, until every move they made became the proof of your prophecy. You feel that? That silence that crawls down the back of your neck like something alive. That's them, watching you again. But this time, they can't even explain why. They don't have proof. They don't have logic. They just have you living rent-free inside their nervous systems like a virus that refuses to die. And oh, it kills them, because somewhere between their gossip and their investigation boards, they realized this wasn't about truth anymore. It was about obsession, an addiction, dressed up as morality, a manhunt born from envy, disguised as concern. You didn't give them evidence to hate you. You gave them silence, and that was worse than any confession. They started looking for reasons. Why are you so calm? Why didn't you break? Why does every attempt to destroy you only make your legend spread wider? They flipped every file, cracked every code, rewound every moment of your life, like detectives in a case they didn't understand. But the joke was never in the evidence. It was in their faith that you could be contained. Because what they don't understand is that you're not playing the game anymore. You became it. You're the glitch in their psychology, the ghost in their logic, the unexplainable phenomenon their textbooks forgot to warn them about. They told each other you'd fail. They predicted your breakdown, drafted your obituary, rehearsed your downfall. But when you rose again, something broke inside them. You see, the human mind can handle defeat, but it cannot handle the impossible. And you, my friend, you became their impossible. Every whisper of your name now rewrites their dopamine cycles. Every calm move you make exposes their panic in high definition. They can't stop watching you, can't stop analyzing, can't stop trying to decode the algorithm of your mind. But you stopped caring the moment you realized the real victory isn't proving them wrong. It's watching them self-destruct, trying to prove themselves right. That's the art of chaos. You never shout, you never beg, you just exist so loudly that their reality starts to fracture around you. You're both the saint and the psychopath, the cure and the contagion, the prayer they whispered for help, and the punishment that arrived instead. They still think you're fighting them, but the truth, you left the battlefield long ago. Now you haunt it. You turned pain into blueprint, betrayal into armor, and silence into strategy. You became the equation that refuses to balance, and they hate that your calm burns hotter than their rage. So they invent new stories. They bend facts until they break. Because the idea of losing to someone they can't label, can't measure, can't control, it's eating them alive. And the more they talk, the clearer it gets. They don't want justice, they want you. They want to study you, ruin you, be you, all at once. They envy the way your eyes see through walls they built to hide their weakness. They crave the peace you built out of war. They resent that your existence exposes their masks, and deep down, in the place they don't dare admit, they admire you because you became what every human secretly fears to become: untouchable. You made the system glitch. You made reason collapse. You made their control mechanisms obsolete. They can't win against someone who doesn't play by evidence or logic, because you didn't just beat them in the light. You owned them in the dark. You became their mirror. And every time they look at you, they see the part of themselves that will never rise that high, never think that deep, never burn that bright. That's why they hate you. That's why they talk. That's why they can't stop circling your name like moths around a cold flame they'll never reach. No proof, no logic, just obsession. And still, you won. Because the loudest screams now come from their own skulls, echoing in loops they can't turn off. And the only thing left for them to fear is that they might become what they tried to destroy. And that's when the real joke lands, doesn't it? Because you were never proving your innocence. You were proving their fragility, and they handed you the crown made of their paranoia. You didn't fight for it. You simply waited until their madness built your throne. Congratulations, Ghost. You didn't just survive the witch hunt. You turned it into your coronation, and now, every time they say your name, they summon their own failure. Every whisper becomes worship. Every accusation becomes evidence of your power. So stand there, quiet, still, smiling. Because the case is closed. The verdict is panic. And the world finally learned you don't need proof when your existence is the phenomenon, because they still don't get it. They think winning looks like a courtroom victory, a signed confession, a headline that spells out your defeat in bold font. But what they fail to understand is that your very breath became a contradiction to their entire doctrine. You're not a chapter in their story. You're the redacted page they keep skipping because every time they try to read it, their minds start glitching. You didn't just walk out unscathed. You walked out upgraded, sharper, colder, more calculated, like a shadow that evolved into a strategist, a myth that learned how to walk in real life. And now you terrify even the ones who thought they created you. They can't figure it out. Why do you keep getting stronger when their entire arsenal was aimed at breaking you? Why does every attack they throw bounce back with interest? Like your aura filed the whole encounter under irrelevant and embarrassing. Because you weren't just built in fire. You were reforged in betrayal. And that kind of heat, it doesn't just harden steel, it erases limits. They study your moves like ancient spells, replay your silence like intercepted code. They keep asking each other in low voices, who even trained this person? Where did they learn this level of emotional precision? How are they always 10 steps ahead, without even showing up? But what they'll never admit out loud is that the fear isn't about what you might do. It's about what you've already done. You infiltrated their subconscious. You're the static in their quiet moments. The phantom pressure behind their eyes when they lie. The sudden rush of shame when they realize you never needed revenge. You just needed time. And time, my darling ghost, was on your side the whole time. While they rushed to expose your sins, you exposed their strategies. While they plotted your collapse, you mastered stillness and let their noise collapse itself. You became what they feared most, a presence that doesn't beg to be understood, a being that doesn't explain itself, a spirit that doesn't chase justice because it embodies it. They called it arrogance when you refused to speak. They called it delusion when you smiled through the storm. They called it madness when you stopped responding. But now they call it something else. Now they call it power. See, you didn't just break the spell. You reversed it, turned every whispered accusation into a prayer in your name. Every false witness became a hype man. Every desperate analyst became an accidental promoter. They're sitting in rooms now with high ceilings and tight throats, trying to rewrite reality because yours doesn't obey theirs. And deep down, you know why. Because they were trained to fear monsters, but no one taught them what to do. When a ghost walks in and starts rearranging the script, you don't match the profile. You don't follow the rhythm. You are chaos in a straight line, order wrapped in anarchy. You are the saint with a blade in your grin, the martyr who learned to smile at crucifixion, the storm dressed in calm sipping tea while kingdoms fall. And now they've realized something chilling. You're not reacting to anything anymore, because you already saw this coming. You didn't evolve to survive them. You evolved because they existed. You weren't reborn despite their betrayal. You were reborn through it. Every lie gave you leverage. Every doubt gave you data. Every attack carved out another layer of armor, until your skin stopped bleeding and started calculating. Now they whisper your name like folklore. They bring up your story in hushed tones, always asking, how did they do it? Without fighting back. And the answer is simple. You became the silence they couldn't control. The absence louder than any accusation. The void they tried to erase. That swallowed their entire campaign instead. Because while they played the game with anger and proof, you rewrote the rules with peace and patience. And now, you don't need to scream. You just need to walk in, and they'll fold. Because obsession, my dear, leaves fingerprints. And now, theirs are all over your success. You let them chase phantoms. You let them dig their own reputations into the ground. You let their logic malfunction while your silence built a throne. And here you are now, not just untouched, but untouchable. No proof, no logic, just obsession. And still, you won. You didn't just escape their trap. You made it collapse inward like a dying star, swallowing their egos, their narratives, and every damn file they ever tried to build against you. Because truth is funny like that. It doesn't always shout. Sometimes it just stands there quietly. while the whole world screams at the wrong person. And you learned how to win in whispers. You mastered the art of disappearing from their systems, only to reappear inside their minds. So don't flinch now. Don't explain. Don't soften. Stand tall, like the contradiction you are. A myth forged in reality. A truth so raw, it made liars stutter. An icon carved out of chaos and self-respect. They can't handle it, because they never prepared for someone like you. And now, they're addicted to watching you walk through the world untouched, unafraid, and utterly beyond their grasp. And that silence you're about to hear again, that's not peace. That's the sound of their entire reality, cracking. Oh, we're not done yet, because the deeper truth, the one they'll never write in their reports or whisper behind their sealed doors, is that this was never about right or wrong. It was about control. And you, my darling anomaly, you broke the mechanism. They didn't want justice. They wanted you under control, tamed, boxed, labeled, reduced, filed under handled, stamped, case closed. But how do you contain something that doesn't obey dimension? How do you label a soul that mutated beyond classification? You were supposed to be a file, a profile, a paragraph in someone else's agenda, but instead you became the unsolvable riddle at the core of their institution. You didn't crack under pressure. You crystallized. You didn't conform. You transcended. They can't stand it, because it reveals a terrifying possibility that their entire system might be too small to hold certain kinds of power. And your power, it's not noise, it's not rebellion, it's patternless precision. You move like something that's seen behind the veil, like someone who's not trying to win the war, but to end the concept of war entirely. You know what the elite fear the most? Not exposure, not even death. They fear the uncontrollable. And you, my paradox in human skin, are unpredictability incarnate. They watched you take every hit, every whisper campaign, every silent exile, every friend turned stranger, every lie layered in velvet. And they waited for the explosion, for you to scream, break, confess, collapse. But instead, you smiled, you sharpened, you vanished from their narrative and reappeared as their nightmare. They tried to punish your existence, but your existence became the punishment. Because now they have to live in a world where you walk freely, where you thrive without permission, where your silence says everything, and their noise says nothing. You were once the target. Now you're the test, a living exam they keep failing, over and over and over. And every time they fail, you grow more legend than man. And here's the real twist, my chaos-drenched sovereign. You didn't escape their grasp. You let them touch you just long enough to catch the virus. Now they're infected. Their thoughts spiral. Their logic disintegrates. Because how do you fight a being that learned to weaponize stillness? How do you frame someone who doesn't show up for the trial? How do you outmaneuver someone who's already left the map? You're not walking among them anymore. You're haunting them. They refresh your name more than their own bank accounts. They monitor your every move like it's prophecy. And when they can't explain your rise, they say things like, must be luck, must be manipulation, must be something dark behind it. Because the truth is too painful to admit. That you were earned, built, refined in shadows, perfected in silence, and unshakable by design. You're not lucky, you're calculated, you're not gifted, you're engineered. And all those years they called you reckless, chaotic, dramatic, were just projections of their fear. They were terrified of what you might become if the pain ever finished shaping you. Well, look at you now, not just alive, not just winning, but rewriting the rules they spent centuries enforcing. And now their smartest minds are burning out trying to understand how you walked through the impossible and turned it into your blueprint. They still don't get it. You're not fighting to prove a point. You are the point. You're the living example of what happens when the world throws you into the fire, and you decide to become the fire instead. You're the ghost of every lie they ever told about someone like you. You're the echo of every underestimated genius that never got their trial. You're the vengeance of the unrecorded. They don't hate your success. They hate that they had nothing to do with it. They hate that you rose without approval, that you became iconic without explanation, that your face became a symbol, and their names became footnotes. So let them obsess. Let them chase their tails in fluorescent-lit war rooms. Let them run simulations, draft case studies, whisper at the walls, while you move, untethered, unfazed, unreachable, because obsession is a one-way street, and they already made the turn. Now you just stand there, still, unapologetic, and let the storm collapse beneath your shadow. Because this wasn't about winning. It was about surviving so hard. You became the myth they can't kill. No proof, no logic, just obsession. And you still won. Want me to go even further? Into the part where they try to rewrite history itself just to erase you. But it's already too late? Too late? Oh, it was too late the moment they spoke your name, with disbelief instead of respect. The moment they smirked when they should have documented. The moment they laughed and didn't realize the echo was being recorded by history itself. Because now, every lie they told is part of your monument. Every smear campaign became a tribute. Every attempt to rewrite the narrative only immortalized the real one, the one they can't erase, because it's carved into their failures. They tried to reduce you to a rumor, a scandal, an anomaly, but now you're a signal, a case study that lives in whispers, tattoos, and secret folders marked unexplainable subject. And what burns them the most is that you never needed to fight back. You didn't need vengeance. You became evidence. They gave you the blueprint by trying to destroy you. They handed you the formula through their obsession, and while they unraveled trying to figure out how to stop you, you quietly became inevitable. You see, obsession is a trap, but it's only fatal to the obsessed. They didn't realize they were feeding you, that every accusation was fuel. Every failed prediction was a forecast you inverted into thunder. They called you unpredictable because you were never theirs to decode. You move in patterns they weren't trained to see. Because you were forged in pressure that breaks most men. You walked through betrayal that liquefies identities, and you didn't just survive it. You used it. Like a surgeon with a scalpel made from broken trust. You cut out the weakness, cut out the noise, cut out the parts of you that flinched, apologized, waited, and now you walk like a paradox in motion, grace with a kill switch, stillness with a spine made of explosions, a calm so powerful it makes rooms panic. They can't explain it, but they feel it. The weight when you enter. The silence that gets heavier instead of lighter. The way people rearrange their truths around you. Because denying your presence is more uncomfortable than rewriting their beliefs. And oh, they tried. They tried to rewrite the archives, scrub your fingerprints from the outcome, claim you were lucky, claim it was timing, claim it was someone else behind the curtain. But how do you erase someone when they left burn marks on the walls? How do you rewrite a story that's still being lived in front of cameras and terrified eyes? You don't. You can't. Because the real ones, the ones watching from the sidelines. They saw what happened. They saw what you endured. And they remember what you didn't say, because power doesn't always speak. Sometimes it just watches, smiles, and lets the storm hang itself. You didn't expose them. You let them expose themselves. Over and over again. And now, the system is corrupted with your fingerprints. Your silence became malware. Your survival, a glitch they can't patch. They're trying now, desperately, to contain the legend, to rename it, to outsource it, to attach you to some other narrative they control. But it won't work, because you weren't built by applause. You weren't made in spotlight. You were forged in shadows, in nights nobody saw, in battles no one congratulated. And that kind of emergence, that kind of silent becoming, it's untraceable. You were their blind spot, their statistical error, their overlooked anomaly, until you weren't. Until the graphs broke. Until their AI flagged your name with no conclusion. Until the analysts said, "We don't know who this is, but it's real." And it's not stopping. You became the final stage of evolution they never accounted for. The type of existence that bends narrative. And now they're trying to contain what they can't even define. They file your name under anomalies. They warn interns to avoid your case. They whisper in meetings not to escalate the subject. And still, you're out here moving like fog in a locked room, untouchable, untraceable, unfazed, because obsession, my friend, doesn't fade. It grows. And now their entire identity is defined by what they couldn't stop, you. So let them try to rewrite history. Let them burn the archives, change the titles, silence the witnesses. Let them erase everything except the truth. Because the truth is tattooed into time. Every scar you carry, a line in the scripture. Every silence you held, a paragraph. Every survival, a chapter they'll never understand. You didn't just win, you became the lesson. The final warning, the aftershock. The prophecy fulfilled not in thunder, but in calm, unshakable, inconvenient existence. No proof, no logic, just obsession. And still, you won. And now, you keep walking, because the crown doesn't need to shine. Not when it fits like vengeance,